episode 91 of Strange Brow Radio. I'm your host, Tobe Johnson, and today's guest is my friend Alex Witcombe. The show Ales and Tales, your chance to crack open a libation with us and hypothesize paranormal. And in this episode, we get into OBEs and cattle mutilations. Again, dig a little deeper. Sorry for the pun. Maybe cut a little deeper into the virtual meat of cattle mutilations. They're a really disturbing story, but my gallows humor is persisting. Okay, we'll be right back, and I'll tell you more about Ales and Tales. Okay, so if you've been tuning in regular, you know that I released a little while back a trailer for an upcoming documentary that we're tangentially involved with from Resonance Media, the production of the story of Cow 1313, looking deeper into the cattle mutilations in general, in particular near eastern Oregon. And cattle mutilations have been attached to the UFO phenomena for a long time, in particular with the Strange Harvest docuseries by Emmy Award-winning Linda Moulton Howe. But we're coming up with some different questions here along the way as to how strange all this is. I would imagine most of you know what cattle mutilations are or have listened to previous podcasts about this here. But if you haven't, Alex and I talk about the strange killings of not only cattle, but ponies, cats, other farm animals, and why it's different than just regular predation. And then, of course, we talk about OBEs, which Alex has recently discovered that he's had one. So I talked to him about the difference between NDEs, near-death experiences, or maybe the similarities between NDEs and OBEs. So that is the plan today. So sit back, go, well, don't sit down, go grab yourself a frothy one from the fridge, and then sit back and enjoy this next installation of my chat with Alex Witcombe in this next episode of Ales and Tales. Alex Witcombe, long time, man. Good to hear you.
Good to hear you too, man.
All right. Well, the usual, just popping down here at the desk, and got a pen, paper, a Rainier, and a little carafe of juice, and ready to roll with you, man.
All right. Sounds good.
So what you been up to?
This, that, and the other thing. Very shifting energy right now in my world. So things are just kind of all up in the air, and I'm just trying to juggle everything and let the balls fall where they may. Yeah, it's good though. I got a lot of new opportunities and a lot of new excitement in my life, so that's good. Yeah.
And as far as Drifty Productions, what's the latest commission or project you're working on?
I've actually stopped accepting commissions for the past month. I really just want to get into my own stuff. I really feel the need to engage myself in what I want to create and not what I'm creating for other people. So that's what I'm focusing on.
That sounds so selfish of you. Like, I'm really...
Oh God, isn't it? Yeah.
I can't believe you. Jeez. The Quadra Island people need their Volkswagen Driftwood, and you're like, I'm thinking of me.
Hey, it's eventually going to be public art anyway, so...
Yeah.
I am thinking of the public down the road. So.
But you have a commission of sorts because you fundraised for the dinosaurs. So when is that one coming out?
I'm still working on it. Probably in the next couple of weeks, I'll get that done and out.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
All right. Well,
yep,
good. All right. And everything's going good here in Washington State.
yeah.
We're just kind of buckling up for the upcoming winter here, which I always suggest people do. And is there any news going on in and around here? Maybe a little bit regarding the happenings that occur on our property. I know that once in a while both of our properties get pretty active, and it comes almost like in a season or a wave. I
Yeah,
often say it's like
yeah.
an eruption of supernatural energy, and we're in the middle of an eruption. We can't really figure out what we did right or what we did wrong. It depends how you look on it.
Okay.
And I don't know. What about you?
It's been a really dead season. The summer, like basically nothing. And I've been keeping my eye out for little oddities and whatnot, but it's been really super slow. So I don't know if that's because I haven't been putting the intention and energy
Mm.
into it and feeding it, but yeah, it's
Let's
slowed down immensely.
Okay, let's talk about that. That'll be topic number one. Hey, well, before we do a topic, let's talk about what you're drinking tonight. I'll go ahead and start
All
off
right.
here because tonight I've been holding back. Maybe I mentioned this before, but an old Navy friend of mine in the cul-de-sac in Thurston, Oregon, pulled me aside and said, "What are you drinking there?" And I said, "I don't know. It's just some kind of cheap beer." And he goes, "Well, you better put OJ in it. That's what we used to do in the Gulf War." And I think he called it an Orenthal for O.J. Simpson, his original name. So he put a little pulpy orange juice in a Coors Light, and we had an Orenthal. Well, the other week I was on a camp out with a guy, and he saw me actually handed him a fresh can of ice cold Rainier with some fresh pulped orange juice in it, and told him the same story. And he said, "Well, let me look that up on Google." And so he found out that a Rainier beer with OJ is actually called a brassy Sasquatch. So I don't have any OJ with me tonight. I do have some grapefruit juice though, and so tonight I don't know, what do I call a grapefruit
Uh, Sour sassy. I have no
sour
idea.
sassy.
Hey, you're drinking the sour beer now.
Right, I know.
you're always bugging me
how
about that.
how ironic. Uh,
Oh man.
okay, so this is the sour sassy. Let's give it a shot, Arrow. Mm. Yeah, it's all right. It's probably the
Uh,
quality of grapefruit juice that I'm putting in. It's a little less than what I would.
okay. Yeah.
Anyway,
Fresh
that's
squeeze, man. Fresh
I need
squeeze.
some fresh squeeze stuff. But if you have a mind to grab some, it doesn't have to be a Rainier, but it is kind of in my kingdom. So you can get yourself a bottom shelf can of light beer and throw yourself a summer party. It's always good, like on a warm day when the barbecue's going, to have yourself a brassy Sasquatch.
I've been scouting out for some Rainier, but haven't seen it up here.
Yeah, well, you're in the
Yeah.
land of kokanee, but what do you have there?
I am going with Hoyne Brewing Company today, and a nice cold, refreshing pilsner. That's about it. What can I say?
Love it. Hmm.
Clean and easy.
Now we do have a couple of Ninkasi made in the shade craft beers in the free fridge for later tonight when we do our night sit out in the woods to see what happens. But we'll save those for later. Tonight the audience only gets a little
Gets the brassy
refreshing.
sassy.
Yeah,
The
brassy
sour
sassy.
sassy.
Hey, so okay, we were talking before this about your theory on, and we talked loosely about it a couple days ago. But do you mind discussing your theory about what's going on here with the supernatural?
Oh, yeah. Well, it's been on my mind. I've been, I don't know, maybe over the past couple weeks, months, loosely, I've been just toying with how poltergeisty is this activity that we encounter, and how much of it do we put in, and is this activity actually coming from us, like manif- us manifesting this subconsciously, unconsciously, because we have the intent and the energy into it. Almost like, well, I guess you could you could go the Tulpa road, right, and go that way. But yeah, every time I put intent and energy and focus into these things start popping up and appearing. And whether that's something noticing, like something external, noticing my intent and focus and energy, that's obviously one explanation, but it could also be that we are just subconsciously harnessing our latent manifesting powers. And yeah, so I've been trying to apply that to some of my weirder scenarios, and I'm getting somewhere with it, but there might be one scenario that I haven't or one experience that I haven't looked at yet where it really actually fits the bill quite nicely.
Okay, my question to you, does it make it any less real at all?
No, not at all.
Okay, so there
Absolutely
still
not.
can be physical ramifications of running into, say something like a Sasquatch.
Oh yeah.
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 So it really
Yeah.
is a thought form of some kind.
Yeah. 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 I mean, look at how prevalent Sasquatch Bigfoot is in our culture, and it's in our minds and pop culture, and it's just like for people like us, it's we see the imagery every day, we hear about it every day, and if you have the focus, the intent, the energy, it might just show up to you as a thought form, tulpa.
Okay, but what do we do? And I'm just playing devil's advocate here.
Yeah.
What do we do about people that have incidents of the supernatural that don't have the thought of it?
Oh, well, well, that's interesting. Yeah, contactees, experiencers, um,
Travis Walton.
that have never. Yeah, exactly. I'm not exactly sure. I haven't thought that far into it. Could be,
Holograms. Straight up
yeah,
holograms.
yeah, or could be the collective unconscious thing. Yeah, let's
Yeah.
go the young route. So yeah.
Yeah, or Travis could maybe have blamed somebody in the pickup truck that they were thinking of it. It could be something of that
Hey,
nature.
you never know. Yeah, maybe one of the other guys was like super into it. I don't know.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, not to go too deep around the Travis Walton issues, but legitimate case. I don't think we really know the deeper layers of the Travis Walton case because of the fact that we've never really heard all too much from the other lumberjacks that were with him in the pickup
other
truck.
witnesses. Yeah, yeah.
But just a side note, when I was truck driving, I actually ran into one of the truck drivers at the diesel grocery store, and he was just inside, like getting a hot dog. Totally, I think his name's Steve Pierce. He's the only other one that wrote a book, and he had a big cowboy hat and a trucker belly, and he just saddled up next to the hot dog stand with me.
No way.
And I was like, I this is so dumb. I was too nervous. Here's this old truck driver, right? But
Yeah.
like, I idolized the story. I was too nervous to say anything. And this is before I had a podcast. I'm like, oh my gosh, I should have just said something. We probably could have talked for hours.
Oh, so you didn't even? Oh,
no.
You just. Oh.
I just let him get his wiener and leave. I know, lame.
Oh, missed opportunity, Toad. Oh, totally. Well, yeah, yeah. I suspect you'd have a lot different questions for
right
now.
Are you ever starstruck by anybody, and who would that be? I mean, I wasn't starstruck, but I just like, am I bothering this guy? Is it really him?
Right.
But has that ever happened to you?
I don't think I am. No,
Okay.
no. I don't know. Just yeah, they're people just like us, you know.
Yeah.
There might be one, you know, if I ran across Jeff Goldblum, maybe checking out my Sasquatch statue. Oh, whoa, Jeff, Mr. Goldblum.
Oh,
Yeah,
Jeff.
yeah,
Yeah.
maybe, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I don't know.
Right. Well, regarding your theory, it's definitely a tulpa type theory. Thoughts become things. It's an interesting theory that I've heard from flesh and blood researchers, and they absolutely tried to backpedal real quick when they said that. I mean, you
Really?
think of Bigfoot researchers, that are well known, especially on TV, and they have screwed up in their conversations with me and equated Sasquatch with a tulpa. And when
Wow.
I was like,
Okay.
okay, here's what I just heard you say. So, that's definitely
Yeah.
one of the theories that have been passed around, but um, yeah, I don't know about it. For me, it's in the category of past lives, which is another one that I struggle with. I'm more in the line of thinking that these are
Right. Yeah.
ancestral memories that pass over us or DNA entanglement.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
I a really ridiculous theory. So I don't know. Where are you at with past lives?
Haven't really delved much into it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I had yeah. I yeah, maybe I'll get there one day, but you know, I've been too focused on aliens and Sasquatch to get into
Okay. Yeah, do we have room to go there as far as what's been going on? Do you want to save that for later?
that. What, the out of body
Well, you
experiences?
said it. I didn't.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Well, hey, let's go for it. Yeah, yeah. Very
Okay,
cool.
the floor is
Um,
yours.
okay. Well, yeah. Ever since 2005, since the experiences with the Greys or whatever they were, those 2 weeks practically destroyed my ability to consciously go do out of body experiences, and that was a favorite hobby of mine. Then I had done like 3 or 4 years practice. I could do it at will. I could just lay down, and within within 10 seconds, I could conjure up the vibrations, and off I go into out of body land. It was just fantastic. But due to the trauma that happened happened to me, um, from the 2005 experiences, uh, it it was absolutely a no go after that, and I missed it intensely, um, for what has that been, 15 years, and kind of always wondered when they would come back. But I guess I've been doing a lot of talking with people about these experiences, the 2005 experiences, and I think going through those motions of just talking with people that have different views and are really accepting and not judgmental, and can maybe just offer tiny little insights. I think that's really released a bit of the trauma for me, which is opening up the doors apparently to back to my out of body training, which I am like boom, like talk about joyful moment. So yeah, it was what, about a week ago. I was pretty tired that day, so I thought I'd just take a nap in the truck. Oh, because the tent was too hot. The sun was on the tent, so I got out of the tent and just napped in the shady truck. And I opened my eyes, or sorry, no, I woke up after sleeping for about 30 minutes, and I know I'm in the truck. I hadn't opened my eyes yet, but I feel like I can conjure up the vibrations. It feels comfortable at this point. It feels like I can do it. So I put my intent out. Let's get these vibrations going, and within, I don't know, 1 minute, I've got the vibrations in my body. If you want to call that sleep paralysis, go ahead, whatever. So yeah, I was super excited, and no fear too, which is really, really important to note, that I didn't have any fear. And I'm just super excited. Okay, let's go. So I basically got out of my truck. I walked right through the door. I was like, "Oh, this is interesting. I wonder what it's going to feel like walking through a truck door." And got through the door. Oh, that was neat. Stepped out onto the field and noticed things were. It's almost like looking through that bathroom glass that has all the texture, and I couldn't really see anything properly. So I invoked my training that I have done, before 2005, which was clarity now, clarity now. And I was able to increase the clarity and get rid of that textured glass look. And yeah, I'm standing on the property, but the detail, oh my God, the detail, it's incredible. It's almost, how do I describe it? It's more detail than waking reality. It's incredibly difficult to describe. So yeah, I really wanted to see if someone else could see me. So I went around the property and tried to wave in people's faces and say, "Hey, can you see me? Can you see me? I'm out of body right now." Yeah.
I love it. I mean, you're describing
Yeah.
something that sounds a little bit like people that have passed on. They talk about a reality that is more real than ours.
Yeah. 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 And well, I guess you hear that in NDE accounts as well. Um, that it's just more real than this one.
Do you think there's
And
a link between
yeah,
NDEs and OBEs?
I think so. I think they're part of the same spectrum. Lucid dreaming, out of body experiences, NDEs, I think are all part of the same spectrum. Um, just intensity, I guess, is the factor that decides which is which. But yeah, it was grand. It was grand, and I'm so happy to be back. You know, I'm back, baby.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's like it's a superpower of sorts. It's almost like you're Scott Baio in the '80s movie Zapped. You have you have these
I did
special
not see that
powers that
one.
you.
Sorry. Scott Hale.
Oh my
All
gosh.
right. Well,
Yeah.
I don't know if it's if I can keep going with this, or
Mm.
I'm going to keep going with this. I that was my first time out of body really since 2015. My first like intentional out of body since 2015 or 2005 experiences. And I was automatically going for it. I was going for it. I invoked all my training methods, and I really wanted to not prove it, but just like say hi to someone and have them say, "What the, you know, in waking reality, were you just there? Did you just come into the shop and then disappear or something like that?" I think that would just be fantastic.
Yeah, no, it sounds dreamy. Totally.
Well,
I mean, as
yeah.
far as a little more descriptive description from you regarding this heightened sense of awareness, visually
Yeah.
speaking, I can kind of imagine that, ultra 4K high def, But
Yeah.
are you sensing and feeling? Are you hearing different? Can you describe those things?
Okay. Yeah. Well, smells out. I've never really smelt anything in an out of body experience. Um, um, like yeah, the visuals are different. You're not using your eyes. You're using a different visual sense. So what that visual sense is, I'm not sure, but yeah, it's high def compared to our eyeballs. That's for sure. You're just seeing a lot more, I guess. Yeah, that's hard to describe. Hearing, um, you don't really hear either. Like the five senses kind of take a back shelf, I guess, and everything comes through um, almost like a holistic, cohesive one sense. So you're seeing and the
Hold on a second here, Alex. You're breaking up. You're breaking up just a bit
I
here,
guess.
buddy. There you go. Just
Oh,
a
sorry.
little bit of a
Yeah,
word lag there. Maybe
yeah,
you're having an OBE on the phone and we don't know it. It
yeah.
almost sounds like you're plugged in, kind of like Avatar style, to the Matrix, to the entity, to the source. Are you like a part of a hive group where your understanding is universal?
I wouldn't go that far yet. Uh, yeah,
But you're getting
I don't
there.
know. Yeah. Well, hey, the more practice, the more I do this.
Hmm.
That might be an eventuality. We'll see. Yeah.
Now, have you ever met anybody who's having an OB at the same time? Do you know if there's any evidence or stories?
I have not. No, no.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, considering the amount that I wanted to experiment last week in the out of body, I don't think it's going to be too long before I either figure that out or figure out that it's not happening or can't happen.
And you also mentioned that fear, the absence of fear, rather, was a big key component here. What do you mean by that?
Totally instrumental to getting into that space. Lots of people go through this. I think this can be easily taught. Um, like sleep paralysis, people who have sleep paralysis, that's the doorway. But they're totally afraid of it, and they don't know what's happening. They're afraid of the unknown. Years and years ago, I took that step and just launched myself into it, and found this whole other world. So yeah, it's just take away the fear component, and things just get a lot easier.
All right, one of the fear components, and I won't harp on this too much, but from other people that do this, they talk about, I guess, the availability of an empty shell back in the spot where you left it, where other things can get inside because
Ah,
you've left your shell, so now you have an open doorway. Have you read anything on that?
for a walk-in, huh? Yeah, you get back to your body and something's taken up. Yeah, I have read a few bits about that, but I've never been worried about that whatsoever. And considering the amount that I've actually practiced this,
Mm-hmm.
especially back then, like it was never a concern, and never actually showed up. So I don't
Right.
even know what would that look like. Would I start acting differently? Would I would I kind of be like someone else?
I
I
don't
don't,
know.
I
Maybe
don't
an
know.
attachment could get in there, something that hides down, in your ankles and then works its way up. I don't know how this works. It's one of the
Yeah,
things, maybe one of the concerns. I don't know. Something I would
yeah.
consider as a
Mhm.
possibility.
Mhm. Well, I also now I also use the mantra that I used in the Hope experience, which is only the light may enter. So
Right.
nothing gets in.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
can you do it at will?
Um, yeah, I will be able to. I used to. I used to be able to, and it I don't think it'll take too much longer before I can just lay down and summon the vibrations and go for it. And yeah, that's doing it at will. So yeah.
Now, with your availability to do this now more often, well, first of all, why do you think that your experience with the Greys had anything to do with blocking it? Do you have any clue as to what was going on there, why the wires got crossed?
Well, with the Greys, it started to happen. Like the Greys came in through that doorway. So I was ready to go out of body. I'm all like, oh yeah, let's go. And then I find that I can't get past the vibration phase, and um, I'm totally confused. I'm like, whoa, why can't I get out of body? I do this all the time. What's going on? And then I noticed that that entity looking at me or noticing me from the side of the bed. So that it is a doorway, definitely for things
Mm-hmm.
to arrive.
Right, right. And they
Yeah.
notice when you're doing a little bit like remote viewing, as
Yep.
far as
Yep. Yep.
yeah, plugging
Yep.
in a little bit.
Yeah, and I've heard of I've read of other contactee
Mm-hmm.
accounts where the Greys actually specifically say to the contactee, like, whoa, well, we noticed you because you were doing,
Mm-hmm.
astral travel work, out of body work.
Yeah, interesting that this all starts too, and you start loosening your schedule up a little bit for yourself, and start
Yeah,
turning away productivity for productivity's sake, and start
yeah,
looking inward.
yeah, yeah, and yeah, turning the focus towards myself instead of my studio.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. You're a hardworking fella who's having success in the OBE's department, and that's something that's never happened for me. I don't know how I would handle it. If it has, I haven't acknowledged it. There was that brief moment at the Al Moon Lab where I described some kind of, levitation experience.
Hmm.
Not quite sure beyond that to say what was happening, because I heard the sound of fabric moving underneath me, and that wasn't, you know, my
Right.
spirit leaving my skin. For there was no, I've heard the sound of like a popping sound is associated with this, and then the silver cord to bring you back, and there seems to be
Right.
some specifics involved with this that you're having it. Would you agree that there's some signs that you can tell that you're having a legit OBE, or do you think they're personalized like dreams?
Ah, hmm. Yeah, I think there are specifics. Um, yeah, yeah. I mean, the before I started doing it, it was, I read about it as described as like, oh yeah, you'll have these, vibrations, and then you'll go out of body. So that's exactly what it is, what it was to me. I have heard the popping noises as well. That's often described as exploding head syndrome. I don't
Wait,
know if that's
I've
what
never
what you.
never heard that one.
Oh, exploding head syndrome.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
no.
People laying in bed and they hear what sounds like gunshots or big, huge pops. I've
That's
had a lot
real.
of that.
That's really interesting. This whole pop thing. Here we come back to the sound of popping, or
Back to the
knocking,
pop.
or
Yeah.
rapping.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean it shouldn't be involved in the conversation. It seems like it's just a small detail that people skip by, but I think it's a real key detail to an actual supernatural experience. The sound of what I would call like a supernatural sound barrier being broken.
Yeah, and you've kind of described that as maybe being these forces, these entities. kind of breaking the physical barrier, right? Like coming in from wherever they are and like pop and into the physical realm, right? Is that correct?
Well, that's me trying to wrap my mind around it.
Yeah, yeah. Hmm.
I don't know. I mean, the things that are happening out in the dollhouse, I call it the dollhouse, but my old, 16-foot long camper, every night there's rapping, popping, slaps,
Yeah,
weird creaking sounds, but definitely the sound of tapping, knocking, popping. And
right.
there's also this, because I spend a lot of time going through these audio files every morning. I only play a percentage for folks. There's some really interesting, what I would call measurable anomalies happening where there's a percussive sound to these pops and a rhythmic. It's almost like somebody took, and maybe this will relate to your OBEs, maybe not, but it reminds me as though somebody took like a ruler, held the one side of the ruler, and
Oh yeah.
flung the ruler up against the metal sheath of the fabric of the camper, and it kind of ricochets as it hits it, maybe times, maybe three times, but usually ba bump. There's a percussive element to it, and
Huh.
that's something that I've noticed. And then, of course, the popping goes into groups of threes. That you can't ignore the fact that these
Yeah.
things are coming in sporadic groups of threes, but definitely threes seem important, as far as the universe is concerned. So maybe that
Hmm.
reaches into, maybe my trailer's having an OBE. Maybe I'm listening
Hey.
to some kind of a screen memory of the old guy that owned the camper, because I didn't buy the camper new.
Yeah.
This goes into the stone tape theory, and we're way
Yeah.
off course from where your OBEs began. But
Oh,
the
that's
popping
okay.
sound is, I think, is important.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that too. And interesting you say about the threes. Because when I describe my vibrational state in the out of body, I always describe the vibrations as coming in waves of three. So zoom, zoom, zoom.
Wow,
I don't know.
is that the
Yeah.
sound you'll hear?
Yeah, it's a sound. So um it's almost like a vibrational roar, like a um very hard to describe,
Mm-hmm.
just with my voice, but yeah, it's like having a very mild electric shock, and hearing it as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And is there any way that you can correlate, like, uh, can you come away with hardcore evidence, Alex, that you have had an OBE and therefore you've seen like the inside of um, a bank safe and can see jewels and know which section the jewel? I mean, do you know what I mean? Like, can you get specifics? Like, I was able to, have an OBE on the operating table because I heard the doctor say "F you" to the RN out in
Yeah.
the hallway. Have you had
Yeah.
moments like that?
No, I haven't had any moments like that, but that's definitely what I'm going to be working towards. Like with that OBE, like the other week, um, I was really intent on like, showing people I was there, and trying to say hey, through my out of body state. But I think it's going to work like remote viewing. I feel where you actually like have to see the target eventually. Like if I with the bank safe thing, I'm never going to see the inside of that bank safe. I don't know that there's jewels in there, so I'm never going to be able to verify that, right? So if I can target something that is verifiable that I can go and see, maybe this is just like super visual based remote viewing, you know?
Yeah, it sounds like it, but without the GoPro attached to your head. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
literally you locking in on a visual of some kind, and it's like having an NDE. Maybe that's all an NDE really is a really almost permanent OBE, under,
Right, right.
underneath duress. I
Yeah,
don't know.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well, I
But
would
yeah,
go ahead.
you can bet I'm gonna be doing those experiments though. I really
Okay.
have that drive now. Yeah,
All right.
and it's not for proof of anything to show the world or anything. It's just fun for me, and I want to do it. Right.
Yeah, it's not proof, but it's awesome to have a little bit of a satchel of evidence to say, I don't know. I always look at it as a reminder that this is actually occurring, and I'm
Yeah,
not off
yeah,
in loony land. Like for me, it's something I can put hard, evidence in some kind of little area of my own weird, storage for weirdness, and say, okay, now I have something physical. I have something tangible. This is
yeah,
This is data.
yeah.
I don't need to share it.
This is
Uh,
data.
yeah,
Yeah,
some kind of data.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, well, perfect. All right. Well, let's quickly talk about something before we get to our main topic here. First of all, I had an interview, an impromptu interview yesterday with author, researcher, and experiencer of internet hoaxers, pranksters, I guess we'll call them, these little douchey teens that
Yeah,
approach Tom Pell.
yeah.
And I think we're nearing close to 3.5 million views on YouTube, which, for a
Oh
Bigfoot
my
author
God.
or researcher, getting 3.5 million eyeballs or ears to hear your work is kind of a big deal. I mean, it's a huge deal because most people don't know who Tom Powell is outside of the Bigfoot world, but now they do
That's true.
because of
Yeah.
these 10 guys that showed up at his house. So, did you get a chance to hear that interview?
I didn't. I just saw it today, and I didn't
Okay,
have time
no problem.
to get into it. But
Yeah, well,
yeah,
just quick and short. Tom
yeah,
hopped on the line with me for 45 minutes. Tom and I have worked together since 2008. He's the author of Shady Neighbors, The Locals, and Edges of Science. And he's an ex-science teacher from a middle school, I believe, in Portland, Oregon. So he's worked with teenage boys, knows their sensibility, knows where their hormones are at that level, and these guys definitely fit in that middle school age demo. So he was just kind of rolling with it because he was a very popular teacher for the fact that he's self-deprecating, very funny, dry humor, and into Sasquatch. So big deal to the middle school kids in Portland. So he kind of thought he was in the same territory. Ends out that he was being rused or hoaxed by these internet trolls on a road trip, who just really went for the bathroom humor to the nth
yeah.
degree and tried to distract Tom enough in their proposition of really crude jokes to pull footage off. And so I don't know. What do you think? What do you think about that all?
Well, I didn't even get to see what they had that they had put out, the Nelk Boys. Um, there was that 29-minute YouTube video, but I don't actually know much about it. So
Okay.
I can't really say one way or the other. Like I don't know Tom's stance on this. Yeah,
Okay. No big deal. I
yeah,
didn't know if you had gotten to it, but I did want to
yeah.
remind people that
I really wanted to. I just didn't have the time. So yeah,
that's all right.
but
It's out there when you get a chance. Take a look at it. And, the weird tragedy of it all is that they had the opportunity to sit down and still have a quality episode, I guess, with somebody that could have brought the goods, and they still would have got viewership, and maybe they could have come up with something way cooler. By hanging out with a guy that's already funny. He doesn't need you to dress up in a Bigfoot suit and
yeah,
all the baloney that went in along with it. But Tom has a good sense of humor with it, and so he'll be doing just fine. But
yeah.
anyway, that snuck out on the podcast just yesterday. So that
Well, hey,
was
if it pushes a few people towards his research, then that's good, I guess.
I think
Yeah,
so. Hey, I
yeah,
also want to thank Strange Brow Patreon Jason Klein today. delivery came, Jason. And so, what did Jason deliver? Well, he went all out and got me a gift, which was not asked for, but totally appreciated. He got me a brand new digital recorder, the
Oh yeah.
Tascam DR05X, a newer model of what I've been using. And if you've listened to the show, then you know that periodically, when a cell phone gets near the old recorder, it has a serious feedback issue. So I'm sorry about that, but I've used that recorder for the last 3 years a lot. So I think somehow it got magnetized, and I think that might have something to do with some of the sound, the feedback issues. So thanks to Jason Klein, we won't be running into any of those issues. So tonight, that baby's going straight into Hilda and Bobby's dollhouse. We'll see what happens, and I'll send him a first copy of what goes down. So thanks again to Jason.
That's awesome, Jason. Right on.
All right, let's get to the meat of it here. We're off topic in a good way, but we wanted to talk a little bit about the previous episode to the one with Tom Powell, having to do with this documentary in production called Cow 1313 or 1313
1313 1313.
Yeah, actually the cattle,
Yeah.
I think the cow was discovered a couple days after April 13th, Friday the 13th.
Right.
Maybe it was
right.
February,
It was,
Friday
yeah.
the 13th. So interesting number there for sure. But what did you learn about cattle mutilation since that episode?
Oh man. Well, yeah, I haven't been in that arena over my paranormal, um, my I haven't really delved into it too much over the past 2 years. But there's it's bizarre. Like it's dead ends, and hypotheses, and that's about all you get with this. And then there's the people that out there that, well, yeah, it's just predation. It's just other animals. But looking at some of these things, it's it gets really weird really quickly. And it's popping up again, right? So yeah, there's been cases in Oregon and some in Alberta last year as well, up in Canada, that were unexplained as well.
Did you find any articles on anything other than cattle being mutilated?
Yeah, well, I did. My first search was cattle mutilation, then I went animal mutilation, and yeah, it's not just cattle. It's all sorts of animals. The first widely reported one was Lady the Horse. What was that? 1967, I think. And that was reportedly coupled with some very odd UFO experiences around the area beforehand. Lots of orbs. And yeah, that brought me to the Skinwalker Ranch episode with the mutilations there, and the orbs with the dogs was really weird. Yeah,
Right,
I
and
don't know.
in that episode too, wasn't there an emu, or not an emu, but a llama or alpaca attacked by a strange creature right or during that mutilation?
At Skinwalker Ranch,
Right.
it was a calf, I think, just a calf. That was like
Right.
one of the first things that kind of happened at a ranch.
Okay,
Where
I'm
it's
talking
weird.
about the show and the new owner. I don't know if you've seen that, but
Oh no, I haven't seen that. No,
okay.
no, no. Oh, he's got
Okay.
llamas out there now.
Well, they had a cattle mutilation, and they saw what looked like a UFO over the cattle, or the
Oh,
cow right before it was mutilated. But I think a week before, or something like that, they had 4 or 5 different llamas out on there to see what would happen to the llamas, and one of the llamas was ravaged on the back end by something. They couldn't quite tell what it was on security camera, but it looked like it was more of an some kind of predation happening there. But for
Right.
the most part, this is what ranchers refuse to say it is. But when they bring in the veterinarians, they're like, well, it has to be predation. What else could it be? But the ranchers are disturbed by this, and that's
Yeah. Yeah.
what we're trying to figure out. What's the disturbing
Well,
element?
well, they're out there. They live this life. They know predation when they see it, right? I mean, you have to. You're a rancher, and for them to be completely bewildered and just like, well, yeah, and almost afraid too. Like it's like some of the ranchers are like, no, I carry a gun with me all the time now. And it does get bizarre. So I don't know. Let's see.
Yeah, one of the things
Yeah.
I walked away with while you're going through your notes is this part of the conversation that I had with the producer that we're working with, Brett Eichenberger, who has some really serious credentials. I don't know if anybody's listened to the episode that we have up there. I believe it's episode 89 called Cal 1313, but he has some Pentagon credentials. So he knows what he's talking about when it comes to at least his job at the Pentagon related to working with. Well, I'll let him explain what he did at the Pentagon. But he said, in regards to who's doing this, being on site in Burns, Oregon, looking over the bones of this cattle mutilation. It was ravaged, but in a weird way. He said the only thing that he could imagine in all his time working at the Pentagon, knowing what people do in security, portions of the Pentagon, and let's just say maybe if you took something like the expertise of a trained special ops Navy SEAL, and you said, okay, before you get to this level of graduating to this tier of recon, we need you to go into the cattle mutilation, I guess, what would you call that? Some kind of program where your job is to excise an organ from a ranch somewhere, leave no trace that you were there, take all the blood. This is the implement you'll use. This is, nobody knows about this implement. It takes organs really easily. You'll be dropped in via black helicopter, and then we'll send you into Baghdad. So that was kind of his working. That was the only
Right.
theory he could walk away with, besides something crazier than that. But I'd never heard that before. But it might explain what's going on to some degree.
Like an initiation of sorts, like oh, you passed kind of thing.
Right, initiation or an echelon of approval before you get rated to the next
Right.
level. Right.
Right.
Hmm.
Oh, okay. Well. Oh, yeah. Oh, well. Okay. Let's say that's the case. Why do it to ranchers? Why don't the Navy SEALs have their own little training ground? You know.
Yeah. Why don't they have their own cattle? Why don't they have their
Yeah.
own
Why don't they have
ranch?
their own cattle? Yeah.
Hmm.
That they're branded Navy SEALs.
Yeah.
Like
Good use of words. Um,
instead of instead of tormenting citizens
but maybe it's to
and hurt.
push the narrative that we have a hostile force, that these are aerial threats, and therefore make it seem spooky, make it seem like it's the evil ETs.
Yeah.
Weird lights. Maybe a part of the show. Maybe it's a whole thing. Where they come in on a
Right.
TR-3B. I don't know.
Right.
I mean, wild theory, but one of the more interesting theories I heard.
So like a bonus little psyop there along with the initiation.
I don't know. It's just one of the theories, and I don't know. It could be. Then you get to the idea that the organs are taken out through the legs sometime. And this is something else we discussed, where they were talking to one of the ranchers, and there was an incision down in the ankle, and one of the main
Hmm.
organs was removed through the leg. Uh,
What?
yeah, I mean,
Whoa.
Linda Moulton Howe talks about a time where the heart was removed without an incision. So now you're
Yeah.
getting
Yeah.
into magic.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Well, here's another theory for you. Um, what if this is a psychic thing? What if this is people being trained to do this psychically?
Like the psychic healers do, supposedly, or where they do
Yeah,
psychic surgery.
yeah. They're
But they're
training to be like psychic assassins or something like that,
okay.
and they just have to go out and do this. You know,
Yeah,
I don't know.
I like it. I like it. And maybe they have implements when they whittle their powers out. Who the hell knows?
Yeah,
Um,
who the hell knows?
and some other strange signs and symptoms of cattle mutilations are, of course, no blood, and not only no blood, but no pooling of blood where the organs are
Yeah,
taken or the tissue. Then, when they do the necropsy, there should be blood rushing to the injured area to heal it, right, from trauma. But there's no blood pooling in there.
yeah. They're supposed to be like 4 to 5 gallons in tanks of the size. So
Yeah, in fact,
that,
one of the measurements that I got was from a book that I was fiddling through online. Which, let me see if I can tell you the name of this book real quick here. The name of the book is where are we at? Mystery Stalks the Prairie. It's an older book written by some ranchers, I believe, in Montana back in the 70s, and I think you can find out more information on them online. The ranchers have a couple YouTube videos there, but they put together a formula for a mutilated Shetland pony. They process in this calculation that a 600-pound Shetland pony has 60 pints of blood, and it would take via a battery-operated pump, to pump out 60 pints. It would take about 15 minutes. But now you have to have a generator, especially in the 70s,
yep.
a diesel generator. It's going to be loud. You're going to have to get it in or be dropped in like Tom Cruise. And maybe Tom Cruise. I think we should blame. We need to blame
it's
Tom
a
Cruise.
Scientologist. It's a Scientologist doing it.
Right.
There we go. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So I thought that was pretty crazy. So no pooling of blood in area of trauma. No signs of struggle. No signs of traditional poaching because of the delicate nature in which they butcher. And so the rancher and Burns went on to say that he'd been through a butchery class as a rancher to learn how to process meat and hide and flesh and tissue. And I think I maybe skinned 2 deers in my life, and it's not something I'm fond of. It's mainly the smell that bothers me.
Yeah, the smell. Yeah.
I can't even Can you try to explain? It's a very disconcerting smell.
It is. Yeah.
It doesn't smell like venison, and it doesn't smell like hamburger.
No. It has a thick, viscous, like, I don't even know the quality.
It has a sweetness to it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, almost like that kelp beer that you had last Ales and Tail.
Totally.
Right.
Yeah. Did you see the other one in Oregon? I think it was cow 286, where it's just propped up on its knees. It's like it like the carcass looks like it's just like sitting there on its knees.
No, that sounds so creepy.
Oh, it's totally creepy. Check out the image. I think it's cow 286 or 268. It's a black heifer, and it just looks like it's sleeping. And that's the way it was left. But it was definitely mutilated and then put that way.
It was almost like in prayer position, begging for its last life.
Almost, yeah.
Then there's the element of how these things are cored or mutilated with these very strange, identifiable, microscopic cuts to the bone and the tissue, where there is something slicing through, because there's no sign of a heated element being used, but yet it almost looks like some kind of heated element by how precise it is, but there's no smell of burning flesh. There's no burn marks.
Well, I have heard of cauterization though in these. Some of the eye nerve optic nerve cord was found
Okay.
to be cauterized. So they took out
Cauterized
the
through
eyeball.
heat or cauterized through a different means? Were they able to deduce?
They were not able to deduce. Just
Yeah.
said it was
But
cauterized.
and traditionally we think
Yeah.
heat, but maybe you can clot something, through light, through I don't know.
Hmm.
Very strange. What else did we find out here? Predators won't touch it generally.
Yeah, that's what I was going to bring up. Yeah, yeah,
Did you
and
find out
that's off.
anything on that?
Well, it's often explained as this was a human thing. Humans like drugged it, and the animals won't touch it, or drugged it before they mutilated it, and the animals won't touch it because they know there's latent amounts of drugs inside. So that's how it's explained in the mainstream.
And one of the things I had to go back and correct was the majority of cases nobody sees them mutilated, but then I found a case where somebody saw something here, so I went ahead and screen captured this article. Let me see if I can bring this up. I'll just read it as I grabbed it. Quote, belief in extraterrestrials as the cause of mutilation goes back to the 1960s, though true believers will often claim that the phenomenon has been going on for longer than that. As evidence, they may cite a widely circulated story reported in April 1897 where a strange flying object was caught in the act of cattle napping in Kansas. The witness to the incident, one Alexander Hamilton, hey, there's a well-known name,
Hey,
described a cigar-shaped craft with a carriage underneath with 6 of the strangest beings he'd ever seen. He said, and quote, it seemed to pause and hover directly over a 2-year-old heifer, which was bawling and jumping, apparently fast in the fence. Going to her, we found a cable about a ½ inch in thickness made of some red material, fastened in a slip knot around her neck, one end passing up to the vessel, and the heifer tangled in the wire fence. We tried to get it off, but could not, so we cut the wire loose and stood in amazement to see the ship, heifer and all, rise slowly, disappearing in the northwest. Neighbor Tom Link, 4 miles away, found the hide, legs, and head in his field the next day. No tracks in the soft ground. April 1897.
1897.
Yeah,
Say that again. 1897.
yeah, April
What?
1897.
Okay, no. All right.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. I don't know. I mean,
Okay. I
that's
I
that's
didn't come across that one. Holy. Okay, that's a great one. Wow.
yeah, pretty
Wow.
bizarre.
That's interesting.
And
Yeah.
maybe I said April 1987.
I think you said 1997
Okay.
beforehand, and then
Yeah,
okay,
I'm
1897.
definitely reading it correctly now. April 1897.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, very
And
interesting.
cigar shaped craft, eh? With 6 of the strangest beings.
Well, that's interesting. I mean, the
Hmm.
cigar-shaped craft is something not new to any of us. All shapes and colors. Mostly, I hear black. But is it a cigar-shaped craft when it tilts upwards? Maybe it's not. Maybe it's more of like a circle, and it looks like a cigar when it's on its side. But people say
That's true.
cigar-shaped, and a red wire wrapped around a heifer's neck, pulling
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
skyward. Yeah,
Yeah. Totally. Can you send me the link to that? I'd love to read it.
yeah.
Yeah.
I will. I have the screen grab here now. I got to go back into my browser history to find out
Now,
where I grabbed it.
I wonder if that falls into the whole airship flat back then.
It sure sounds airshipy.
Yeah.
It does. Yeah.
Huh.
So that I had to scrap my crib note here on the fact that I mean most people don't see them mutilated. Even the ranchers in Burns described weird lights, but they certainly aren't ready to say that it's little gray men.
Well, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And okay, so what's your take on the helicopters? coming by after.
Yeah, the black helicopters seem to be involved with all this stuff. I mean, they're at the East Seti Ranch, over Mount Adams. Are they just doing flyovers from Fort Lewis or McCord? Possibly. But I tend to think, just based upon the nature of the fact that most people describe, I shouldn't say most people, what do I know? I have heard descriptions of people that have seen them over mutilated cow or ranch style areas. And the rotor on the helicopter doesn't make a sound. It is without wash, and so that is a stealth craft. I don't know how you fly a helicopter without the sound of rotor wash. It's what kind of technology is being deployed. I don't know. What do you think?
Okay. Or maybe it's just something else trying to look like a helicopter.
Yeah, that's what I'm kind of wondering myself.
Like, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If you can't hear it and can't see the wash, then.
Yeah. Did you find anything on black helos being linked to this?
Well, yeah. It's kind of all over the place with these accounts. But not. Yeah, I didn't find any direct, oh, we saw this black helicopter and it was hovering over our cow, and then like 1 hour later it was mutilated kind of accounts.
And then you got the good old Satanist, the satanic panic
Oh,
of
yeah,
the 80s.
yeah. Why is that still going on? Holy cow.
Oh my gosh. Well, according to the film crew that was in Burns, they were out in the ranch in Burns, Oregon. They said it was a very remote road. One of the gals said it was sketchy as hell driving into the ranch because it was just so remote, so bumpy. And she said for a group of people to get out there, I don't care how, skilled they are at butchery, you're going to leave tire tread marks. You're going to leave to
leave evidence.
Some kind of evidence. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, what are these occultists, like super Tom Cruise on steroids, right. Navy SEALs,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. And then you have all the theories in between that something's entering out of a portal, toying with us, toying with the cattle, part of some kind of greater. I mean, where I lean automatically, just based upon what my gut tells me that something.
Yeah, what does your gut tell you?
Is happening with the extraterrestrials' interest in heifer DNA or parts, that they are utilizing spare parts from animals, easy access. It's not just heifers, cats, humans. We had a pony earlier on. Horses have. We have a lot of missing people.
Yeah.
I think that there is some kind of program going on where ET has the upper hand, and once in a while they grab a very rare hamburger and they do with it what they want.
Okay, no one ever comes back from an abduction experience with their genitals missing.
No, I don't think that is the case. In fact, get a hold of me if if that is you.
If that's happened to you,
I definitely want to talk to you. strangebrowradio@gmail.com. No, I've never heard of that.
Yeah, I mean it's like egg harvesting and sperm harvesting and stuff like that. But yeah.
Now I have talked to witnesses, including there'll be a witness coming up on Patreon soon that talked about after having her hysterectomy that the ETs were no longer interested in abducting her.
Right.
So that is a kind of a common theme.
Yeah, I've heard that a couple times. Yeah, and I'm trying to remember when I had my vasectomy. Was that prior or after?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Well, that could be a way for fellas to stop it. I never thought of that.
Hey, there you go. Yeah.
Of course, if they're ETs, they can just work.
A vasectomy.
Right. I mean, if they're ETs and they can walk through walls, they can certainly work that issue out.
Yeah.
Hey, there's some more material here that I got. I really want to promote this book by Roberta Donovan and Keith Wolverton. It is again called Mystery Stalks the Prairie, written in the 70s in, I believe, Great Falls, Montana. And I want to read another quote from them regarding something that I think is an interesting detail here. First chapter. Screen grab this part here. Another mystifying bit of evidence surfaced when the undersheriff Jerry Skelton of Judith Basin County investigated a calf mutilation near Utica. Undersheriff Skelton was called October 9th, 1975, to investigate the death of bull calf. Its testicles had been removed, as well as the cords leading to them, the only evidence he found at the scene. And it seemed to have no logical explanation. Was several stones... Okay, let me read that again. There was also this part of it with no logical explanation. Several stones weighing as much as 6 or 7 pounds each were moved from a nearby rock pile. The rocks were turned over and moved around for no reason. Large rocks. Under Sheriff Skelton removed some parts of the calf for examination by toxologists and left the carcass at the place where he found it. 10 days later, at the request of the rancher who owned the calf, Under Sheriff Skelton returned to the scene. I guess you'd call that the scene of the crime. During the 10 days since the first investigation, a snow had fallen in the area and later melted. The calf was found covered with a filmy white substance that stretched from the carcass to the surrounding ground, a bit like cobweb. Laboratory tests identified it as some kind of petroleum distillate. No one seems to know why the calf was shrouded in the substance. I'd never heard a detail like that.
Whoa. So was that due to the introduction of the snow? Like,
they're not blaming the snow. They're saying that the snow happened and then it
snow
melted.
happened and okay.
Yeah, so basically after it melted, they were able to find that something was covering it that wasn't there before. Now, did the snow somehow interact with some invisible
like,
sub-layer of something?
Kind of reveal it.
Or maybe it was like a binding agent, just like snow made it activate or something. I don't know.
Right, yeah. Wow,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and then the part about the rocks being moved, I think, was interesting for the fact that what's the interest in moving large rocks around?
Okay, well, I noted that, and leads me to this question. What do you think of Bigfoot as a possible suspect?
Yeah, well, I'm glad you said that, because in this book, Mystery Stalks the Prairie, as well as some blogs that I found on the subject matter, there are people that have seen large biped hair-covered creatures in the vicinity on or near areas where there have been cattle mutilations. So I don't know. I've never heard anybody say that they blamed Bigfoot for mutilating their cow, though.
Right.
Not in a degree we're discussing. Have you?
Yeah. Nope.
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 I can't recommend this book enough. You can find it free online. So what do you have to lose?
Cool.
If you type in Mystery Stalks the Prairie, Roberta Donovan and Keith Wolverton, written in 1976, I believe, ranchers from Great Falls, Montana. It is free as a download online, and it's super fascinating.
Awesome. I'll be checking that out.
Then, of course, you have Christopher O'Brien, Stalking the Herd, and Cattle Mutilations, Up Close and Personal by A. Kennedy Jr. So there's another one for you. And then Ben Mesrich's The 37th Parallel goes down the alien highway where, of course, there's been some ongoing cattle mutilations and such. I know Montana and Colorado in particular had a huge flap of cattle mutilations maybe like 4 or 5 years ago, and it made quite the news. Do you guys deal with this at all in Canada?
Well, yeah, like I said, in my research in the past couple of days, I've seen that some Alberta ranchers have been dealing with it in the past year, but it hasn't been to the point where it's been a flap or anything.
Right.
But it seems to, just by typing in cattle mutilation in the search. It seems to be focused around the Pacific Northwest right now.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with you. There's
Yeah.
something going on out this way. And according to the New York Post, an article written some years back, so probably more than this number, uh, at least 10,000 reported cases in the last 30 years. I don't think
Yeah.
that's the actual number. I think that's probably the low number. And
Yeah.
who knows what it is now, but that's a lot. That's a lot of money
That's a
because
lot.
I don't know what a heifer runs. I imagine probably under $2,000 between, maybe $1,500 to $2,000 or something like
Well,
that for.
depends on the heifer. I think some of those prize bulls, which were some of the
Right.
mutilated animals, were upwards of 5.
Yeah, a lot of money.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's a hell of a lot of money.
Well, someone do
Yeah.
the quick math on that for me. What is, let's say, between $2,500 times 10 is that $250,000 or I don't know. It's a
Probably
big
more than
number.
that. Yeah.
It's a big number.
Yeah.
So that's what I walked away with, and as I'm on the show with you right now, I am looking at one of the prior guests reached out to me while you and I were talking here, and it is the one of the recent guests that I spoke with here, and he is sending me cattle mutilation pictures from his ranch, and they look very similar to
No way.
some of the things that we're talking about here. So I will send those to you, and if I can, I'll put those up on the website there. But really disturbing, at the Almoon Lab, there was 2 dead animals that were found. The rabbit and the snake. Those were the 2 main
Right.
things. I wouldn't count those as mutilated, except maybe the snake, but it wasn't a precise decapitation of a snake. It looked like the snake's head was pinched off.
Right.
So I can't really call those, in the same category. But
Well, no. I often find, and I've sent you this before, pictures of this, and told you that I often find like mice and voles in the middle of the trails.
well,
Um,
yeah. Even Renner talks
and
about that. I mean, I
yeah,
talked about that in the beginning.
yeah, Renner talks about that, and it's under like kind of weird circumstances here and there. But one of the key kind of components, or one of the unifying components there of these creatures, is that they don't have any bugs on them. Like they're fresh, and they don't have any bugs. There should be bugs on these animals, but they're not. And I've gone past these like days after, and they're just they remain there. Like nothing wants to touch them. So
Okay.
yeah.
My experience with it is that there was no sign of bugs on them, and then all of a sudden there was. It was though they were so fresh that it just happened, and bugs hadn't
Oh,
had a
okay.
chance. So I
Yeah.
haven't seen what you're describing. So, maybe I will now that we're talking about it. Thanks a lot.
Yeah. More
Yeah.
snakes. More snakes.
Hmm. Well, that's all I had in the mutilation category here. Again, the book is the 30 Mystery Stalks the Prairie, free online. That was my takeaway, and also the upcoming documentary, Cow 1313, which the trailer is up online. You can find it if you type in "spooky action," all one word, "spooky action," and then type in Cow 13, 2 separate words. It should come up on YouTube as the trailer. This is the crew that we've been working with, and it's a really beautifully shot, theatrical looking documentary. So
Yeah,
super well done.
the trailer's impressive, for sure.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
these guys really embrace the topics. Like they really want to know, and
Yeah.
it's nice to be involved with something like this where they're super invested in it.
Yeah. Where's the documentary going to be available?
Well, so there may be 2 documentaries. There may be one specifically based upon what we just talked about, and then everything going on as far as our production concerned is kind of up in the air till 2021. I don't know any more than that. That's kind of where we're at with it. We haven't stopped shooting, and so it's still happening. And
Okay.
things keep happening. Not only at this property but the other property. And I haven't described on air what happened the other day out in the trailer, but I haven't talked to you either about it. But the trailer seems to have its own energy, and I chronicle it on something goofy I call the Helda and Bobby Dollhouse Show, which you can find on SoundCloud. And all I'm doing is isolating clips for people to listen to that are related to the sounds that I think involve the supernatural coming and going. And these are these pop, knock, and such sounds. So they're kind of like warm-up sounds, I guess, is the way I look at them. Although I'm not just looking for a warm-up, I'm looking for something more. And I got it.
Did you?
I was sitting inside the trailer around 12 o'clock in the afternoon watching a show, and from my right, from underneath or behind the television, floating maybe only 3 feet as it moved across in front of me, coming as close as 2 feet, was a dirty gray blackish orb. And
Whoa.
if I were to describe what this looked like, it was transparent. It looked flat. I couldn't see that it was round.
Yeah.
It almost looked like an eye. Like if you squeeze your eye too much, you'll see a floater.
Yeah.
So it wasn't that because I followed it with my head out the door, and it whisked right through the wall, and I gasped. And
Ha!
I mean, I yelled as loud as I could. Did you see that? And it maybe lasted 5 seconds, but
Wow. Hey, 5 seconds is a long time for these things.
yeah, it was moving really
Yeah.
slow. I don't know what else to say about it except that the last time we heard about anything that was round and dirty gray or black on the property, why do I feel like this is a setup for a bad joke? Was when we had Kevin Carney, a Bigfoot investigator, over, and Sandy Nelson, who, don't let me forget, I need to mention them at the end of the show. They came over for a night or two, I believe just a night. We had a barbecue, and around 11 o'clock or so, they went into the dollhouse to go to sleep. That was the guest house. In fact, if you come here and you're lucky enough to stay in the guest house, man, buyer beware. But as Kevin was relieving himself in the tree line, he came running back into the house as I was getting ready to go to bed and says, "Oh my gosh, oh my gosh." So he went on to say that racing across tree level, these 50-foot tall Doug firs, maybe taller, in the night, he could see the outline of two racing dirty gray balls of light, racing kind of syncopated. And I kind of passed it off as owls, to be honest. Like, well, maybe
Yeah.
it's an owl of some kind. But I did see something when I was shooting pictures once outside that looked kind of like what Kevin was describing, but absolutely 12 o'clock at night. I'm sorry, 12 o'clock in the afternoon. I saw this maybe 3 weeks ago now. And so I'll try to reconstruct it, but it's the first time I've actually seen anything in the trailer that I couldn't explain, and it certainly wasn't anything that I could record. I couldn't reach out and grab my iPhone, but the the iPhones, man, and you and I have talked about this.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I don't know how this is possible, but since I've never spoken about this ball, dirty gray ball floating through the trailer, the iPhone 10, I want to say it's a 10XS, 64 gigabyte phone, recording in 4K, recorded for over 11 and a half hours. Now, it was plugged in, and it was recording the dolls as they sat there in the bed. And as I came into the trailer, I saw it was still recording. And I don't know what to say except I shut the camera off, not thinking. And so I hit record again the next night, and it recorded for like another 55 minutes or longer, or something like that. So it recorded for
It
over,
still had more space on it.
yeah, it
Is
recorded
what
for
you're saying?
over 12
Okay.
hours in total. Two separate, and it recorded to the hard drive, right? Like I
Yeah.
fast forwarded all this footage, and then I went and grabbed an iPhone 5, right? An iPhone 64 gigabyte iPhone 5. I can't remember the model number. Anyway, they only had like one standard recording mode on the camera at the time, and that thing recorded for 13 hours and 33 minutes
Yeah.
onto the hard drive. So your question to me was, what was the frame rate? And we didn't cross paths with that information there. But what would, and it's too late now. What would the frame rate have told me?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
What
Or
would,
how big was the file size?
well, yeah.
Yeah.
That's my question to you is,
Yeah.
what would the file size or frame rate have helped you understand, Alex?
Well, I mean, an 11-hour video at 4K shouldn't. I don't think from the website that I saw shouldn't be on that phone. It would have been like way over the gigabyte range for the storage.
Okay, is it possible based upon shrinking the file somehow?
I don't. I don't know. I don't know much about
Okay.
technology.
Okay. Well,
You know,
you're
I
good.
saw
Yeah,
I
you
saw
do
your
computer
yeah
work, and yeah.
yeah I saw your posts on this. I thought I'd do a little bit of dive into it and see, and yeah, the website said like, okay, yeah, here at these rates you'll get an hour, you'll get 2 hours,
Right.
with this amount of storage you'll get, but what you were describing there, it didn't look like it was possible.
Yeah, and although I don't have it preserved on the phones because I wanted to continue recording, what I did is
Yeah.
I recorded with another phone what was going on, so I wouldn't have to download 13 hours or 11 hours onto a hard drive. And I basically fast forwarded the footage to see, show that yes, it had saved. Yes, it's on the phone. Yes, it's part of
Yeah.
the memory here. And yes, it's 11, 12 hours, 13 hours. So,
Right.
what can I say except to say that, it wasn't an energy drain, it was an energy boost.
Mhm. Mhm.
Or maybe energy is the wrong word. I mean, it manipulated the possibilities of what technology can do. It wasn't. I don't know if it had
Yeah.
anything to do with energy at all. It manipulated energy.
Yeah. And you were not able to reproduce this. Like you tried
No,
doing this again, and it wouldn't do it, right?
no, yeah. I plug it in, and I've done it 4 or 5 times since, and I can get 45 minutes, maybe like on the other one I can get like 49 minutes. It's not the
Right.
battery dying; it's the memory's full.
Yeah. Yeah. It's memories. Well. Yeah.
Yeah, no.
So.
Very
Hmm.
strange. It's a strange world we live in. Um, the cattle mutilations continue to progress. I don't know when this doc's going to come out regarding it. Cal 1313 is the name of the doc. And, one other thing I wanted to mention too, while you're on the air with me as well, Alex, is that there is a conference coming up,
Oh.
and the conference is going to be, I want to make sure I get this right here. It's called the Sasquatch Rendezvous. We had it last year, or the beginning of this year. We're having it again, and it's going to be October 3rd and 4th, and you can buy tickets now. Tickets are on sale for a 2-day pass for $30. So
Good. That
Saturday,
was awesome.
October 3rd and 4th, all you got to do is log on and be a part of the show. And I don't know, from someone who saw the last show, what'd you think of, what you got for your dollar?
Oh, for the dollar, it was awesome. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. It was 2 days worth. You know.
2 days,
Yeah.
15
I.
bucks a
Yeah.
day. It's kind of like an
I know.
all 9 to 3, 9 to 3.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah.
It was great.
Pacific
Yeah.
Standard Time. Some of the speakers that will be there will be Daryl Adams from Cottage Grove, Oregon, a part of the Al Moon Lab. Mike Patterson, knower, experiencer, Canadian researcher. Maybe you've heard a little bit about some of Mike Patterson's experiences that he's had with
Didn't
Nefertia.
didn't yeah, you had him on an interview, didn't you? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
There will be a Navajo investigator, experiencer, researcher, Webb Nez. Never had a chance to meet Webb. He's going to be there. Also, Andrea Billups, who is a pretty well-known author and journalist and experiencer. Ryan Leisinger, Leisinger, researcher, enthusiast, and educator will be on board. We got a couple more names here. Marcia Kamore from, she did some Ancient Aliens work. She's a digital artist, a concept artist, bringing memory forward, experiencer, enthusiast. Dan Nedrello, knower, investigator, and experiencer. This one I'm pretty excited about. Doug Meacham is going to be speaking. He's a certified registered hypnotherapist and paranormal enthusiast, so I'm really excited to hear what he's working on. Ooh. And Scott Taylor, BFRO investigator, knower, educator. He was also there before. Gail Betty, experiencer and researcher. And I'm going to sit down with Bob Gimlin and interview him privately, and we're going to air his footage. And so that is going to happen in September. I'm going to be out in the woods with Bob for a couple days, getting his take on not the Patterson-Gimlin footage as much as what may be behind the Patterson-Gimlin footage. And that's my question to you, Alex, and everybody else listening. I want to hear some good questions to ask Bob, because he's been asked every question you can imagine.
Yeah.
So you think about a good question to ask that guy. I'm going to be alone, kind of just me, him, and a few other people out in a real squatchy area for 2 days. It would be nice to have some fresh questions. So if you can think of anything, Alex, get it to me, man.
Yeah, we'll do.
All right.
Totally.
And the last thing I was going to mention, too, is that, Alex, now you can make a report in the U.S., the UAPTF, the Unidentified Aerial Phenomena Task Force. The Navy has released so August 4th via Deputy Secretary David Norquist, who is in charge of the program here. They're unveiling a task force so you can make an actual Blue Book style report via the U.S. Navy. So that is available. I don't think that the actual form is open yet for you to make a report, but that is on the way, and that's real UFO news. I mean, it should transform the conversations that we're having right now, but it's kind of in the back pages, unfortunately.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm not very impressed. It should impress me. It should, all of this stuff. But I don't know. There's something. I don't know. Something stinks, Tobe.
Yeah, something stinks.
Something stinks. That's my gut.
Okay, so for next show, you're going to tell us what stinks about it, and you're going to have some more quality OBEs like the last one. Take good debriefing notes. Hey, man, it was good talking to you. I'm
you too,
heading
man.
out the door, and as always, man, I will see you next month.
All right. See you in the trees, brother.
All right, Alex Witcombe. I'm sure he'll be back again next month. The one thing we didn't talk about was his strange stroll that he's planning out in Quadra Island. So that was just my fault. We didn't get it out of the way. So I'll mention it now that if you know about strange strolls, it's your chance to choose your Tobe adventure, but now you're going to choose your Alex and his girlfriend's adventure. Maybe I can just send Alex out alone. I think that'd be more fair. But if you check out strangebrowradio.com coming up and the Strange Brow Radio Facebook page, there you can vote on where to send Alex. And when he goes, he'll be going at dark 30 and filming a 30-minute challenge of some kind and then posting it up on YouTube underneath the name Choose Your Own Adventure, Choose Your Tobe Adventure, Strange Strolls. So more on that later. But I need to discuss October 31st. Well, first of all, October 3rd and 4th is the Sasquatch Rendezvous. Let's get that out of the way. I mentioned that before. If you go to SasquatchRendezvous.com, get tickets, $15 a day or $30 for a 2-day pass, a virtual conference. Definitely think about getting tickets because there will be some new stuff coming for sure. New videos, new talks, and it's your chance to sit down on a weekend and take it all in virtually. It was a great experience last time, and it'll be even a better experience this time. But in all actuality, there is a little bit of uh, change coming for Strange Brow Radio. After October 31st, we are moving to what seasons, and so we will have seasons instead of episodes. And with season comes less content unless you're involved with patreon.com/Strange Brow Radio, where the show won't change. They will basically be getting the show that you're listening to every Monday, and I will do 4 shows a season, and I will do so that's 12 shows a year on the regular iTunes platform or wherever you're listening to this. So after October 31st, I'm sure we'll have some kind of, conglomeration party on or near that date, but that will be the 100th episode on Halloween. And then we are taking the show in a little bit of a different direction. Same content, same theme. Everything will remain the same, but I would ask you, if you can, go to strangebrowradio.com and check that out more often, because content's going to be there, or go to patreon.com/strangebrowradio. There's lots of content on there. So for $3 a month, all this content that you've been getting every Monday will be shifted over towards the Patreon channel. So that is coming up on Halloween. And maybe I'll turn it into a call-in show of sorts too, and we'll air that, or we could do something live, yada, yada, yada. So that's what is happening here. I let the people over at patreon.com know about this a couple days earlier, and for them, I'm internally grateful, and definitely grateful for all you guys tuning in and supporting the show just by listening. Of course, you can also catch the show on YouTube if you want. So that would be my next bet for you. Also, I wanted to mention the fact that I have a brand new recorder here from Jason Klein. It is the Tascam DR05 that he reached in his piggy bank and sent me a phenomenal recorder. And, it's working. There is some stuff happening with this recorder here. And I played a little bit of that on SoundCloud if you follow the Hilda and Bobby Dollhouse channel. But there's some stuff happening here right now as we speak. And is the recorder the catalyst for what's happening? I don't know. But Jason Klein, thank you for this beautiful recorder. Thanks for sending it to me, and thanks for supporting us. And hey, you could support me by shooting me an email and being a guest on the show. You don't have to listen to be a guest. You just call in and we talk, anonymous as you want, at strangebrowradio@gmail.com. Strangebrowradio, BRAU, @gmail.com. And or just write me a message if you want. That's it for the show. I'll be back next Monday with a all-new show for you. And as of course, I will see you in the trees. What you're about to hear is a sneak peek for a future broadcast for Patreon members at patreon.com/strangebrowradio. and they'll get the whole enchilada. But for you, there is a healthy sneak peek here from anonymous guests that I interviewed who were calling Citizen 1 and 2 a married couple with an extraordinary life, UFOs, cryptids, and Area 51. And when it comes to the Area 51 story or encounter or memory, it's very fascinating about the people at Area 51 and Citizen One's relationship with going to Area 51. So all that and more coming up, but I give to you a sneak peek with Citizen 1 and 2. All right, I am here at a locally well-known spot, and it is near the town of Port Orchard, Washington, and we are at a campground with a couple who are going to be anonymous here for our interview, and that's kind of to protect their roles not only as citizens in the town, but also security clearances and backgrounds and things of that nature. So thank you both for providing your time to do this.
You're welcome.
Okay, so let's start with you first, Citizen One. Well, we'll call you Citizen One. Give us a little bit of a background going back in time, if you can, looking at where you've been with the supernatural, in particular the aerial phenomena, and a little bit of your background military-wise, as much as you're comfortable.
Okay. I was, during the Vietnam War, I was an air intelligence officer with the U.S. Air Force. I was trained at a Navy intelligence school, and served a couple times in Vietnam. Came back and continued doing that. However, after the war, they didn't really need too many of us, so I cross-trained into a photographic field and continued. Did not lose my clearance because it was the things we were doing were still classified. I worked in a lot of classified labs. Saw a lot of strange things, unexplained. Had a few experiences ever since childhood that were kind of unexplainable.
Okay. And so some of the security stuff we have to delicately talk about here, but overall, you've seen stuff, unexplainable stuff, and had to work with the military to, I guess, explain the stuff away. I mean,
everybody that witnessed it,
mm-hmm.
which was a lot of people,
Mm-hmm.
knew what it was. We just didn't talk about it because
Mm-hmm.
we knew it was there.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't have to explain it away as much as we just ignored it.
Mm-hmm.
You just didn't talk about it. Some of the people, I can give you an example of it.
Yeah, please do.
During a test of missiles, they used the massive tracking cameras that have very good optics. And remember, this is back in the day before digital. So everything was filmed. It was 16 millimeter and 35 millimeter film. And during the launches, almost every single launch, there was strange aircraft up in the skies that were not ours, nothing that any of us knew about. They could hover, they could circle. Sometimes they would disappear and then come back. You wouldn't see them, and then they'd be back right before the launch. Sometimes they would follow the missile up until the first strap-on booster or whatever fell off, or until stage separation. on the missiles.
Explain what that is? Stage separation.
Stage separation is when you have a missile that has numerous parts to it, and to get it to boost to a certain level of orbit, when the propulsion runs out on the one to lighten the load to get it to go otherwise, the other stage would ignite and keep pushing it forward while the other one dropped off and fell into the ocean or burned
Okay.
up. So that's what that was.
So they're actively following missiles.
They were at that time,
Okay.
yes. Yeah, they were circling them. There's been a few occasions, too, where if there was a classified payload that I can't really talk about, we would see that these things were around, and we figured if they didn't want it to go up, it would destroy it, because there was no other reason for the rocket to blow up.
So how often would that happen?
Once maybe every 100
Okay.
launches or so. I don't know exact number. We didn't track it.
Did they have a acronym that they use for the aerial phenomena?
I'm not so sure if it was an acronym or not. We just called them UFOs.
UFOs?
UFO.
UFOs.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And then now let's hand the mic over here to Citizen 2, because Citizen 2 is abundantly familiar with UFOs and aerial phenomena, to the point where your relationship with Citizen 2 here is of a long-standing nature, and you guys work well with one another explaining this phenomena. But as far as being deep in it, Citizen 2, you're super deep in it, and to the point where you may feel that you're not even from here. Okay, so talk a little bit about that journey.
Well, I have also had strange experiences ever since childhood. Nothing at that time that I would have understood at all. And it's only now that I'm much older looking back that I'm starting to put more and more pieces together to realize that some of these things that happened were definitely extraterrestrial. And it's not that I have seen an ET in person, but I've definitely been around them. They're in my head. I am now to the point where I am probably 90% sure that I've been abducted at least once, probably multiple times. But because of this obsession that I have,
There's a mosquito that is a little pest here.
because of this obsession that I have, I feel compelled to try and figure it out. And the earliest recollection I have was probably when I was 12 on a farm, and I saw 5 craft, slow flying, fly right over our farm. And at that time, I had no idea what that could possibly be, other than it just totally scared me, scared our livestock. And I ran into the house just terrified. And over the years, numerous things have happened that I tried to explain, that only now, if I attribute it to being ET activity, it makes way more sense.
Right.
So the things that I have ended up being able to do, I think, are possibly a direct result of having worked with these ETs, even though it wasn't by my permission, as far as I know. But more and more I realize I'm probably more like them than I am like a normal person.